Hey friends, and welcome back to the Sunshine Café. In today's episode, you're going to get some great insights from Amanda Nichole. We cover a lot of different topics in this conversation, but they're all focused around getting unstuck and learning what's getting you stuck in the first place and how to define when and what is enough in the various areas of your life. And then realizing that taking action is really what builds our confidence and our self-worth. So let's dive in. Welcome back to the Sunshine Café. I'm Lisa Roers, your host, and hey, thanks for joining me today. I'm here just to pour some positive back into your day with practical tips and stories to encourage and inspire. So let's dive in. Hey friends, and welcome back to the Sunshine Café. I'm Lisa Roers, your host, and I'm so excited that you're here today. It's December 8th, and before we dive into the conversation, I just want to remind you that my children's book called The Who's First Christmas is, well, selling out fast, which is kind of exciting. And we are not going to be ordering any more for this season. So if you have interest in getting the Who's First Christmas, it is right here. It looks like this sweet story about this little Who family who learns a very special lesson about Christmas time. And it's a great book written in kind of a cadence of the night before Christmas. I wrote this book with my mother, and I'm just so honored and proud to get it out for her legacy, and for all of you to enjoy. So if you have interest in getting it, hop on over to my website at lisaroers.com and you can order a book. I literally only have about, maybe 20 books left. So jump in and get that right away before the season's inventory is all gone. Okay, in today's episode, I'm going to sit down with Amanda Nichole and we're going to give you some helpful tools and tips and ideas about getting unstuck. Amanda is an executive leadership and life coach with nearly 2 decades of helping people navigate that challenge of being stuck and redefining what enough really means, whether that's in your work, your relationships, or in the area of your own identity. She has a background spanning health coaching and therapy, and she's just got all kinds of things she brings to the table, including compassion and practical insights. She has a unique journey struggling through reinvention and healing, which has taught her how to confront unmet expectations and undefined boundaries of what is enough. And now she has the great honor of mentoring others to do the same. So you're going to love this conversation. And so let's just dive in. Hello and welcome back to the Sunshine Café. I'm Lisa Roers, your host, and I'm super excited today to have Amanda Nichole with us, who's going to give you some beautiful insights on getting unstuck and figuring out what is enough in your life. So Amanda Nichole, welcome to the program.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Lisa. And thank you for creating this beautiful space for people to connect and to find that sunshine. I know that you are a beautiful amount of sunshine in the world. And so thanks for paying that forward.
Well, we all need encouragement, and there's never enough. You never get enough. You use it up and you got to get some more. So you've had so many beautiful things in your background where you've served other people and helped them through a variety of different things in their lives. And you're focused right now on really helping businesses and people both kind of just getting unstuck. And like I said, when in the introduction, helping them figure out what's enough. So
Yeah.
maybe as a point of
Yeah.
introduction, you can help my audience understand a little bit about your background, who you are, and what you're doing right now.
Absolutely. So I've been an entrepreneur for almost going on 18 years and started in massage therapy. And I don't know that I ever expected to become an entrepreneur, right? Like I think that when it comes to getting unstuck is understanding first how we even got stuck. That's huge. And one thing that I know and that I share with my clients now is that idea of unmet expectations. And I share that as a preface as I'm sharing my background because my history of entrepreneurship is just one beautiful surprise and gift after another. So I've done 17 years of chronic pain management and injury rehab with massage therapy. Added to that, teaching yoga and kickboxing. And I thought that I wanted this beautiful trifecta of adding health and nutrition to that because that is the trifecta of health. But my background's actually in psychology. So everything that I did and my mission in life is to call people out of fear and into the wholeness that God made them to be. And so when I was looking at what I did, I wanted to make sure things were in alignment with that. And so the health coaching realm I was in for 12 years, but I found myself just having really beautiful, deep conversations with people And when it comes to people's health, especially, whether you're starting the new year with health or ending it, trying to think about what's next, there's a feeling you get of being stuck. And we want to look at why. And what I found with the clients that I worked with in health, at least, was there's an ability to get unstuck as much as we're willing to go through and process our hard experiences and our thoughts and our patterns. And honestly, it was through talking with people at such a deep level of what makes them come alive that led me to become a habit finder coach. And I love working with people to ignite their passion and drive action. That is the number one thing that I do. And so much of that came from my own experience with juggling mental health issues and having depression and anxiety. And there were some low points where I felt stuck. And it kind of took getting angry at the way the health system responded to my stuckness, we'll say, to get myself into action. And I know that action drives self-worth and self-confidence. And so that's kind of where I'm at now is I want to serve people to identify what it is that helps them come alive. And specifically when that taps into natural genius for people who are thinking about starting a business, it's so much fun because most people who are looking at starting a business, they write that idea off because it's so easy for them. It's so easy for them to be an organizer. It's so easy for them to, market, to go do the things. And it's fun for them. And so oftentimes I think as women will undervalue that or maybe potentially even write it off simply because it's natural for us. And the reality is that your strong gift may not be natural and is likely unnatural for many other people. So that's the long answer to my introduction, my friend.
Oh my goodness, there's so many things in that.
I know.
I already have filled my notepad and we just started the introduction. So how do I go back to this? There's so many pieces in there, Amanda, that of places where you have taken yourself and other people that you've worked with out of a place of stuck or lack of action. I love how you say, that it's the action that gives us self-worth and drives our self-confidence. That's such a brilliant statement and something that I think we get like stagnant and we don't know why we don't feel good, but we don't feel good because we're not taking any action. And it's the action that actually precedes the feeling. Once you start taking action, you start feeling better, right?
100%. Yep. Yep.
So let's just kind of dive back into the personal experience that you had. How was it that you recognized that you were stuck and in this state of depression, and what got you ignited to decide that you got to make
Yeah.
some changes?
Thank you for asking that. So long history, I guess, is that I had my first nervous breakdown in college. And so I actually went through adrenal fatigue. Back in that time, I mean, this might date myself, but back in that time, doctors were just researching adrenal fatigue. And my doctor was like, "Your adrenals can't fail. That's not a thing." And I was like, "Well, sure as shnikes it is because I feel it." And so, um, so I had my first nervous breakdown. A marriage, two abuse, at least one for sure abusive marriage. The other, with my oldest daughter, he decided to step out and not wanting to continue in that partnership to be a parent, and so, um. So again, a lot of it was, I think that maybe potentially I've had a lifelong anxiety of sorts or potentially ADHD. I don't even know really. I don't think it serves always to have a label so much as to look at this is what happens. This is my experience, but a
Yeah.
label, I think labels give identity and identity gives excuses for people to use that as a reason not to heal.
Mhm.
And so I have gone away from that, and a lot of that just comes from my psychology background, but I had in 2019 rebranded my business. And the reason that I rebranded I just took a moment. I was like, wow, that was really reflecting back on it at such an emotional time. But in 2019, I took a large portion of a trust fund and I invested that into being a sponsor for a local fitness festival to be the main sponsor of it. And that's where Amanda Nichole Wellness was even born.
Hmm.
Before that, my business was Rising Lotus, and I felt like I was a lot of moving parts, and I wanted to bring it together to feel more whole. And what I felt like happened that year was I I was aiming to pay a dollar amount to find where I belonged.
Hmm.
And because I wanted to belong inside of this, what I thought was a thriving business community of women in my local community. And what I ended up doing out of that was, honestly, it was just a very, very expensive learning lesson. And
We
I
all
got
have
to,
those.
oh my gosh,
Yeah,
right?
sometimes those expensive learning lessons are the only ones that are going to get our attention. So I get that.
Yeah. So it's like all this whole year I rebranded, spent a bunch of money. It didn't happen. It didn't launch my business as I thought it was going to. And then 2020 struck and stopped. I stopped moving and I was so thankful for the break, but I kind of just checked out for a bit. After I had COVID, I actually was having some really severe depression and I emailed my doctor and I said, "Hey, I'm feeling really dark, like concerningly dark, potentially suicidal, things like that." And what they said to me was what ignited it.
Mm,
And they emailed back, the nurse emailed back, and they're like, "You know what? I think that's just a long-term symptom of COVID. So we can up your medication or you can just kind of ride it out." And for me,
wow.
I am a passionate suicide prevention advocate. And
Yeah.
I knew the numbers, the rising numbers in our country for suicide, particularly in 2020 and since then.
Hmm.
In that moment where I said to what I considered a medical professional, "I think I need help." And they came back and said, "Well, we can do this, or, you can just write it out. That's just a symptom of COVID." And I was like, I am not going to stand for that. And it was actually that anger. And sometimes anger is a sign that something is no longer serving you, right?
Mm.
It's a sign for our bodies to say, "Hey, this needs a boundary and something needs to change." And so I just knew that if I wanted to feel different, I needed to do something differently. And sitting wasn't going to work, so I started to fill my brain with other things. So I started listening to audiobooks, like
Mm.
consuming them. And I didn't ever think I was an audiobook listener, but I found out that you can listen to them on 1.5 speed.
You go
And
a lot faster that way.
a whole lot faster. And it wasn't so much that, it was that the regular speed that they were recorded at, I got so distracted I couldn't even consume it. And so I just started listening and listened to some beautiful faith books, like Still or Get Out of Your Head by Jenny Allen. I listened to leadership books and I just started to think differently because I made the decision to start changing my thoughts first. And that's again kind of what led me to Habit Finder, because Habit Finder helps us identify our habits of thinking that keep us stuck or held back from our fullest potential. And understanding that our thoughts are actually not who we are. And when we can recognize that, it's not us that is broken, it's not us that is wonky, right? We just simply have a wonky pattern of thinking, but it's not who we are. And I think that that's the key to starting to notice that if it's stuck, it's most likely a thought pattern. You are not broken. You are fully cherished and loved.
Yeah, and thoughts can be changed. Our mindsets can be
Yep.
changed. And
Yep.
anybody out there who's like, yeah, whatever. No, really, stop and look at your life. I guarantee you're not thinking today the way you used to think. I guarantee there are
Mhm.
things in your life that you're not doing that you used to do, or vice versa. And
Mhm.
sometimes when we're stuck in the stinking thinking, we have to really take those thoughts. I mean, scripture tells us
Yep.
to hold your thoughts
Yep.
captive.
Yep.
And I think it's a very intentional scripture that we need to hold our thoughts captive because, like you were saying, they can either drag you down or they can propel you forward. So
Yeah.
wonderful that you got all these different audiobooks and was kind of reprogramming yourself for how to think
Mhm.
positively and how to make a difference in the world and take action. So
Mhm.
what happened next? How did you take action then to make a difference?
It's funny. Thanks for continuing that part of the conversation because, you know, when you start listening to things at 1.5 speed, you start moving faster. And there was a book in there that highlighted a pattern that I feel like a lot of people have, and it kind of leads me to this idea of enough, and it's called The Gap in the Gain by Benjamin Hardy. And what it identified was that most often we move from peak to peak in life.
Mm.
where we go from goal to goal and we never look back to see where we've grown.
Mm.
And so if you go from peak to peak, all you see is the horizon of where you're not yet. You
Mm.
can't see the gains. So you see the gap versus the gains. If we don't pause to celebrate those things, if we don't pause to learn to identify and recognize or somehow capture that growth, then it feels very self-defeating in that you're not moving forward.
Mhm.
And again, I think it that comes down to comparison, which again rides on that self-worth part and unmet expectations. Because I can't tell you how many people I talk to, particularly in their early 20s, and I'm in my 40s. So when they're 20s or early 30s, and they're like, I just thought that I'd be more financially sound. And I was like, oh, sister,
By
like, I don't know why you
by
thought
20?
that. By 20? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but again, it's like, where does that even come from? And I think some of it's the influencers, right? Digital influencers and that sense of comparison, but we can only compare to ourselves. And so that's where the gap in the gain started to help me think about slowing down, recognizing and celebrating success. And and then I turned 40 and I was like, wow, I really like slowing down actually.
Mm. Mhm.
I like going at a slower pace. I got married and then we had a baby. And so I have a 13-year-old and a 9-month-old. And I will say this past year, it has been challenging unexpectedly, right? Where my husband lost his job
Mm.
um and it's just been a hard year, and I've heard that for a lot of people. And we went through some experiences that one, I used to think maybe I'd be embarrassed to even opt into, right? Like he lost his job and I was in postpartum recovery, kind of not actively working. And so yeah, we were supported by food stamps right now. But the fact that my family is fed, I'm so grateful for that.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's what those
So
programs are there
incredible.
for.
Exactly, and I believe they're hand ups, not handouts, but
Mhm.
even so, I know that it's a temporary thing. I never once thought of myself as, "I am now this. This is my identity now." I see it as an in between
Yeah.
and in a really hard economical time.
Yeah.
It's a bridge, not a hut. But the thing about that bridge is we have to cross that bridge.
Mhm.
Right? I hold these 2 things so beautifully in comparison because I take my early college years where I had that nervous breakdown to now and look at that space of growth. And, something that happened in my family was my dad traveled a lot. And so I cherish the time that we got to spend with him, but they showed their love language by giving expensive experiences and gifts,
Okay, gift
right?
givers. Yep, all right.
Gift givers, and sometimes, we would travel and that's the time we got to spend with my parents, but it was these big, overseas trips or something like that. And that was our experience. And I'm so grateful. Like my college was paid for and all of those
Mhm.
things. But because I didn't understand that I was inherently cherished and loved as not just a child of God, but a child of them, um, I thought very early on that in order for me to be recognized, I would have to give to people that way. So very early in my college years, I ended up in a lot of debt and a
Mm.
really weird relationship with money because it was like you were only valuable if you had a present in your hands to give. You know
Like
what
a
I mean? And
significant, yeah, like a significant
exactly.
thing, right.
A significant thing. And so that kind of led to that enough factor. And I was so grateful for this time when, we just don't have the above and beyond to go to a bunch of fancy meals. So when we do go out to eat, we're super grateful for it,
Right.
right? And I love this for us. I love that less is more in this situation. And it started me to think about there's a difference between when you're especially when you're an entrepreneur, but any goal seeker, there you have a goal and there's a tension that is necessary to get you into action to achieve that goal. You have to feel the pain of where you're sitting in order to drive you into action.
Mhm.
But letting each day be enough, letting each day, everything that you accomplish, you cannot accomplish more than you actually do in a day. You just can't. Because if you could, you would, right? Your
Mm,
body does tell you cues. And it's not
mhm,
that you're wasting time. It's not that you're whatever. I mean, maybe,
mhm.
but that served something in your brain. That served something in your body.
Yeah, we have a tendency to look at margin as wasted time, and sometimes it's just the margin that brain needs before it can move on to the next productive thing.
Oh, margin. I just can't wait to have even more margin. And it's like,
Right.
again, like a 40-year-old tell the 30-year-olds or whatever. It's like, go get more margin, slow down a bit.
Mm,
But I think it's that slowing down of I am so impressed that I can keep this budget
mhm,
that is within this certain program, right?
mhm,
And before I was spending probably a stupid amount on groceries,
mhm.
right? Just a stupid amount. And do we really need all that?
Yeah.
Probably not. I mean, that's just what's so interesting. It's like the definition between needs and wants and pursuits and looking at what is your enough. And so the big thing is if we don't know our enough, we'll never know when we arrive. And then we don't know what is above and beyond and the blessings to cherish,
I wanna
financially or otherwise.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
pause on that just for a second because we're saying some of these words kind of fast, and anybody listening to us on 1.5 is gonna really have a hard time catching what we're saying. But, when you say defining what your enough is,
Yeah.
just dive into that just a little bit and help unwrap
Yeah.
that a little.
Yeah. So I want to think first because there's three main things that we manage in our lives, and that's time, money, and energy. And so when we first start about thinking about energy, right, we'll look at the areas of sleep, what gives us energy as far as rest, which rest and sleep are different, and then potentially where we're outsourcing some energy as far as exercise and all of that, and social connection. All those things fill our cup. But if we are looking for something, and this kind of falls into the habits of thinking, but if we're looking for something outside of us to meet an internal need, it will be very hard to identify and land with that was enough,
Mm,
right? Think about addiction. There's an internal hole, and somebody's seeking something outside to fill that hole, to fill that bucket, to fill that I need. But it's never enough.
mm-mm,
Addiction is never enough. And so you don't have to be in an addiction loop to just be a hurting person
mhm,
looking for validation.
mhm,
So looking at what is it that you truly need in a day to fill your cup? And I believe I believe that starting either bookending your day or at least starting your day with some kind of worship and connection to your creator is huge
mhm.
because that to me is an infinite source of blessing and love and peace and energy, and at least for 5 minutes a day, you know that all is well in the world.
Yeah, and the guidance you might get from
And the
that.
guidance. Yep,
Yeah, right.
exactly. Yep. So then it goes into what can you do to gain energy, and I think that's moving your body. That doesn't have to be going and being a CrossFitter, right?
Mhm.
Um, but I think you expend energy to get energy at times. It may not feel like that. I think it's important to say what is enough. Well, right now, where my body was at, enough for me was going to the gym and walking for an hour, doing some body weight exercises and sitting in the sauna for like 10 minutes, right? Like
Mhm.
that was enough. But that fueled my entire day yesterday. And then I woke up this morning and was like, that might have been too much. But again, you just do
More
a
that
little
was
bit.
more than enough. I
It was more than enough. And I think it wasn't the gym part. It was that the rest of the day was so jazzed because I just hadn't had that kind of energy in a while. So letting it be enough. I used to think that if I couldn't go to the gym for 2 hours or an hour and a half, I shouldn't go at all,
Mm.
right? Do you ever have that
Yes,
where
yep, and I've coached people to say, "You know what? Your enough for the day might just be walking to the end of the driveway and back."
100%?
I
And
mean, where are you
yep.
starting from?
Well, even if that's where you're starting from, but even if that's all you have in a day, recognizing like every yes is the no to something else, and every no is a yes to potentially you.
Mhm.
And so, raising the standard and making sure that there's that carved out time for yourself is huge.
Yeah.
But then again, what is enough?
Mhm.
Because I I've had an experience where, if somebody's looking for that extrinsic validation, something outside of them to make them feel good about themselves, then what happens is, You say, go do something good for yourself right now. Go spend some time. Go fill your cup. But that turns into a 12, 14, 18-hour thing, maybe potentially unexpectedly, because it's not going to fill their cup because they don't know what actually is going to fill their cup. So going to do something good for yourself, you have the potential of even a vacation
Mhm.
wouldn't be enough to fill your cup because you aren't meeting your needs each and every day. So
Mhm.
figuring out what is the enough that helps you start and get through the day,
Mhm.
that's going to give you some energy back, I think is a huge place to start.
Mhm.
And so raising the standard and making sure that there's that carved out time for yourself is huge. What is it that I actually need? And do I have permission to ask for what I need from the people around me and the people in my life? This is
Mhm.
what I need. This is what I need for me. This is how much I want to take care of myself,
Yeah.
and letting that be enough.
Yeah. And when the things that you need are in your control, that
Yes, that's huge.
that's the sweet spot, right? Because if your enough is defined by getting something from someone else and they aren't in
Hmm.
the mood to give you what you are asking for,
Exactly.
you're not going to have your enough either. So I really love what you had said about just pausing to define what is enough. What is enough sleep? Well, I feel best when I got 8 hours of sleep. What's enough food? What's enough workout?
Hmm.
And those are all things that I really have a lot of control over. But if I say, no, I'm not going to feel like enough unless if my husband does X, Y, or Z for me, well,
Yeah.
that's not really fair for me to put that on him because he might not have the bandwidth to do that for that day. So it's really
Right.
important to own those.
You know what? That you bring up a really interesting point, Lisa, and I think that what do you think? I know this is like me flipping a question on you, but what do you think is the difference of having standards? This is something I'm rolling around in my head, so I'm so curious. What's the difference between having standards and just settling or with what they're able to give? Do you understand the question of what I'm asking? Where it's like, yes, they may not have the capacity to give that day, but that doesn't mean that that's not a true need and want and
Mhm.
desire long term, right?
Sure.
That
Sure.
might be a standard of how we want to be treated.
Yeah,
But if it never actually happens, where's that line of enough? That's a hard conversation.
it is. And I think it varies and it depends on who you're talking about.
Sure.
Like for many, many, many years, had a very struggled, difficult relationship with my dad.
Hmm.
And I had to love him for who he was, not for who I wanted him to be.
Yes. Yep.
And along with that, I had to expect nothing from him. He wasn't capable of being the dad I wanted him to be. Now, in the end, beautifully enough, he turned into being exactly the dad I needed. So
Mm.
it was perfect in the end. But if you're talking about a spouse or someone that you work with on a regular basis that you have to interact with them and you really do need something from them,
Hmm.
that all starts from communication. And I think far too
Hmm.
many women think, no, they should just know what I need. No, I'm sorry. I'm going to argue with that one pretty strongly because you have to be able to communicate to your spouse with the same level of clarity that you communicate to the drive-through guy at McDonald's because he's not going to just assume you want ketchup on your burger or not. I mean, you have to really be
Hmm.
that level of
Hmm.
detail with your husband and tell him
Hmm.
exactly what it is you need lovingly and say, hey, this is something I need. I'd like to work toward that. It's
Hmm.
not like I need you to drop everything and do this all for me today. I need flowers and, I need you to write me a song by Friday. We're not we're not talking about that. But just
Yeah.
to communicate it, make sure that they are aware. Make sure your coworkers are aware of the things that you need and your expectations before you start getting upset and depressed and angry because the person that you are waiting for enough from isn't giving it to you. So
Hmm.
I think that my answer is that it really depends on who it is and what kind of role they have in your life. Sometimes you do have to just love them for who they are and let go of the expectations. And sometimes you can communicate through that and work through it. What do you think?
I think that's fun. I think something that shifts is raising our standard of how we treat ourselves. And
Mm-hmm.
it's amazing how less we actually need from someone else when we start meeting that need for ourselves,
Mm-hmm. Very true.
right? And that's about it taking full accountability and ownership, right? There's this idea of I just went through this with my group last night. It's kind of that I would have X if it weren't for XYZ.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that desire to blame because it's so
Mm.
much easier to point fingers than to just clean up the mess.
And own it,
Does it
right?
and own it? Like, does it really matter who, like, I have 3 cats and 2 dogs. Does it really matter who puked on the floor? No, it matters just that it gets cleaned up so nobody steps in it. And that's kind of it, where it's like we can waste a lot of energy. Speaking of energy, we can waste so much energy trying to figure out who to blame and who to whatever and who to cover it up and what's going to happen and the repercussions after that. Whereas like if you just take a second and do the dang work, do the dang thing, it's done. There's a difference between like being controlling and having control.
Mm-hmm.
But then you're in control of your own thoughts, your own energy management for the rest of the day,
Right.
right? We don't have to let people live rent free in our brain.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, so that's kind of where it comes with as far as energy, which feeds into time management and looking at, are the ways that we're spending our time serving us to move us forward to where we want to be. There's this idea in a book called The Now Habit by Neil Four, and it talks about guilt-free play, overcoming procrastination to enjoy guilt-free play. And I don't know if enough women engage in guilt-free play.
Give me an example.
Guilt-free play is going to get a manicure and pedicure. Guilt-free play is having an open coffee with a friend where you just don't have to worry about the time around it, right?
Nice. Yeah.
Guilt-free play for me is being able to do my daughter's nails,
Mm.
right? And that's a weird thing, but for me, sometimes guilt-free play is about creating connection and saying in that moment that I'm there with her, that I can be fully 100% present.
Yeah.
That I'm not telling myself that I should be doing something else or I need to be somewhere else. And that doesn't matter. That's even how it is with myself, right? Guilt-free play is taking a bath and not guilting yourself into like, oh, I should get out. I should whatever. I should. Well, no, just allow yourself to be present. Put a close to the end of the day and allow yourself to enjoy the time that you have. But I think that people avoid that because they don't feel like what they've done in a day is enough.
That whole concept, I think, of guilt-free play is a good one, and it really does speak back to the margin thing that we mentioned at the very beginning. If you don't have any time for the unexpected, then you can't be present with the people that are with you. I love that you're making time and enjoying time to be fully present with your daughter.
Yeah. And it's kind of my husband kind of started to take this thinking pattern in myself because I'm like, aiming to accomplish a lot right now with my business to serve a lot of people. And it's not actually a lot of people. That's what I was figuring out. I'm looking to connect with 24 business owners looking to transform or launch their business in 2025. And so that's not a ton, right? But that is my enough. That meets my actual need that I can care for my family
Yeah.
and to have a little bit of margin. And anything above and beyond that is the blessing and the play. But I think specifically if you're a stay-at-home mom or something like that, looking at what you've done in a day being enough versus, and I kept doing this to my husband, I would come out and I'd say, um, oh, I still need to do this, this, and this, and this, and this, because I don't have coworkers. I'm a solopreneur, right? So I was verbally processing, I still need to do this, this, and this, instead of saying, I just did all of this. I
Mm.
just created this and I connected with this person and I did whatever. Same sort of thing, right? I did grocery shopping, I took a shower, I meal planned, I prepped, I got my kid there. My kids are alive. And maybe even if I was lucky, mopped the floors, like I did a lot today. That is enough.
Yes.
Instead of constantly thinking, but I still need to, but I
But
still need to do this, this, and this, and this.
yeah.
Like, slowing it down, the guilt-free play is about that enough. I have done enough today, and tomorrow those things will still be there.
Mm-hmm.
And so, an exercise that I give my clients is to write down everything you think you need to do in a week to try to break that obligation cycle, everything you think you need to do, and then organize that list in order of importance and tear it in half. So let's just say there was 50 things on the list, right? Organize it in order of importance and tear it in half to 25. Reorganize it and tear it in half again. And that's what you can actually get done. And so I think that's where it comes into time and time being enough. And then recognizing that as if we're working, a portion of our time is spent earning an income. And so looking at financially what is enough. And I believe that a lot of that comes down to choices,
Hmm.
right? If you're going into debt, getting your nails done, that's because you can't meet the need of enough in somewhere else, then you're not creating that abundance, right? Getting your nails done isn't actually giving you mental, physical, soulful peace and freedom. And that's not a judgment thing. Coming from somebody who's overcome a lot of debt in life and being obviously where we are right now with receiving what we're receiving gratefully, I recognize, and I'm trying to teach my daughter, my 13-year-old, of like, this is what enough is. And this is what we get to do above and beyond with play. Because if it's about needing to be pampered, there's so many ways that are guilt-free ways of self-pampering that don't cost $100 when you go to see the nail lady.
Absolutely.
So,
Well, there's so many great truths in there. Amanda, I just really appreciate you bringing up all those different pieces. And I think it's really encouraging because it can feel really defeating when you're not taking action and when you're not feeling like you are enough or you're feeling like you're not doing enough. And I think it's often a mantra that we say to ourselves, whether we are in the corporate world or whether we're working from home and managing all of the responsibilities with the household. It's often the feeling like, "Ugh, I'm just not enough. I can't get enough done." So defining those details, making sure that we're clear on what they are, and maybe having to redefine some of them. And, so maybe enough is not going to get the pedicure or the manicure, but maybe enough is doing the nails with the daughter and just having a fun time with it. Maybe that ends up being more than enough. You might find that the things that
totally.
you thought were a sacrifice, the replacement ends up being even better than you thought the first thing was. So
Exactly.
I think in general, it all goes back to what you were saying at the very beginning about capturing our mindset and
Mhm,
reprogramming our brain, who's telling us we need to have one thing when we really
mhm.
can find even much more joy in something else.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
my best encouragement in all of this is to slow down, right? The final thought that I have on that is most people can finish the sentence where you want to slow down to what? Most people would say slow down to speed up.
Mm.
But I laughed because one of my habit finder coaches told me, he's like, "Nope, Amanda, just slow down to slow down because you deserve slowing down. You're
Mhm.
not chasing anything, you're not chasing anybody, and you're not being chased. To
Mm.
begin to come home in your body and to feel safe and to feel enough within yourself, just slow down."
Mhm.
And I've hung on to that this year, and it's been huge. So
Yeah.
hopefully that
Yeah.
serves someone today.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. I want to give people the visual of sitting in a car that's speeding at 60 miles an hour. Yes, you can go 60 miles an hour. And yeah, you can see the road and you can see the buildings and you can see the houses. But when you slow down and you go 30, if you've ever been that person in the passenger seat, all of a sudden you're like, wow, I never noticed that bush, that tree, that house, wow, there's a church over there. I never knew that
Mhm.
because we weren't slowing down. We do that with our lives and we're speeding through it so fast. And that's why our kids get out of high school or out of college, or whatever. We're like, wow, where did the time go? It
Right.
went because we were sitting in the car going 60 miles an hour. We weren't looking at the buildings and the flowers and the things that are along the way. So, yes, when you slow down to just slow down, you can really enjoy the details and the richness that's sitting there that's free, that's just waiting for you to take notice.
It's like, where are we rushing to? Death? Like, what
I
are
know,
we
good
trying to
point.
arrive so fast at? When you were saying that, I was just thinking, I was like, why are we going so fast? Like, who are we racing and why are we trying to get there so fast? Do we even want to be there?
Well,
Like,
good point. Right. Because ironically, the faster we work to get there, the
yeah.
worse it is on
Yeah.
our health, the worse it is on our relationships, when slowing down makes everything better.
Right.
I love
Yeah.
that.
I think what helps with getting to understand what is your enough is the last little piece of this is yes, going slow, but then always keeping yourself on the mild edge of discomfort. That balance between comfort and discomfort, that is enough, right?
Mm.
Where you have the energy where you can go to bed saying, well done. And you
Mhm.
can wake up the next day and say, I'm so excited to go do it again.
Mhm.
And there's that margin, that little bit of letting it be enough, but having that little bit of tension that pursues and drives growth.
Yeah, that's great. That's really well said. And then the moment to just take a moment to look back and say, hey, look what I accomplished.
Woohoo!
Accomplished great things. Woohoo.
Self high five.
Exactly, worth celebrating. Well, I have just so appreciated your time, Amanda. Thank you for your insights and all the beautiful things that you've unpacked for us today. It's been really, really helpful, encouraging for me. I hope it is equally encouraging for those listening. How can people find you if they want to learn more about the things that you're doing with your coaching?
Absolutely. Thanks, Lisa. So, I'm on Instagram and my handle is Coach Amanda Nichole. It's Nichole, Nichole. I'm sure it's in the show notes, but I'm not sure if this would serve, but I have a self evaluation that I'm giving people right now. And it leads to a free mini course to help you set up strategically your year. And inside that, maybe they're not a business owner and you just want to connect and understand your habits of thinking, then shoot me a message, whether that's on Facebook or Amanda@leadingvictory.com. Send me an email and let's look at your dynamic habits of thinking in that assessment and go over it and see what those next steps are, because the first step to awareness is being willing to see it. And so we don't know what we don't know. And so that would be where to connect, is either email me or come and take that self-evaluation and let's create a 90-day strategy map.
Beautiful. I love that. I will make sure that that link gets in the show notes so people can go. Awesome. Amanda, thank you so much for being with us and sharing your beauty and your wisdom with us. Really appreciate you and your time.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Have a great day, everyone.
Nicole is amazing. I have 7 great reminders for you today. Number 1, action creates worth and momentum. Of course, that feeling of being stuck is not because you're worthless. It's because you haven't taken action. Even some small steps forward toward better health or habits that are going to bring you closer to your goals are going to increase your self-confidence and your self-worth while propelling that momentum toward your goals. Action, my friends, precedes the feeling. Action precedes the feeling. Take action. Number 2, stuck often means broken thought patterns. When life feels heavy or stuck, the problem is often your old pre-programmed thought patterns. You know, that automatic response system that you have that's always running in the back of your mind. This is not your identity, and it can be changed. When you start thinking differently about yourself, your situation, well, all of the things that you have in your life that feel stuck are going to start moving, and you'll start feeling more free so you can pursue the life that you crave. Number 3, define your own enough relative to time, energy, money, rest, work, relationships, and all the things. What is enough for you? Take some time to sit down and think about that. This looks different for each person, and it's different for us in each season of our lives. But by defining what is enough and being intentional about that, you will know just how much time and energy you need to spend in each area that will make you feel good about the day, instead of chasing some undefined or unrealistic target. Number 4, don't forget to celebrate your wins. If you jump from goal to goal without ever pausing to look back, you could lose sight of the progress that you've made, and you'll start kind of feeling like success is unattainable. But stopping here and there on a regular basis to recognize and celebrate the accomplishments that you've already had, those small wins that inevitably happen along the journey, are going to build gratitude, reduce the burnout, and help you acknowledge the success that you're really creating. Number 5, self-care and satisfaction can be found in simple things. You don't need expensive gifts or dinners or experiences to feel happy. Just slow down and take time to really savor the simple, everyday events in life. Soak up that time with the people you love. Take in all the nuances of life. The landscape and the scenery and the time with your loved ones can be a lot more fulfilling than you might realize. And it's free. Number 6, own your thoughts. Don't give people rent-free space in your mind. Blame, resentments, and comparison drain our energy and wear us down. So take ownership of how you respond to other people and what you're letting others make you think. When you own that emotional energy, it puts you right back in control. You can't control others, but you can choose to respond differently with integrity. Take action to make things better and protect your peace, even if the whole world around you is a lot more chaotic than you'd wish it was. And finally, number 7, this is a huge one, and I am so passionate about this one. But my friends, communication is key. If you need something from somebody, a spouse, a coworker, or a friend, it's more loving and effective to just be really, really clear and articulate about what you need. Don't assume that they should know, because nobody can read your mind or understand the nuances of your needs and desires and the things that you hope for. So speak your needs with love and respect and present them as information. Here's what would really make me feel great if we could try this. Or here's what I really need from you on this project. Here's what my expectations are. Or here's the kind of thing I'd like to work toward in this friendship or in this marriage. Just be really careful to use language that is clear and that is respectful, that considers both people's perspectives, so people know exactly how to meet or exceed your expectations. Communication, my friends, is so important. Thank you for joining me today. And please remember, if you are somebody who is in need of some life coaching, I do have a couple spots opening up here toward the beginning of the year, and I would love to partner with you and help you get unstuck and move you toward those goals that God's put on your heart, whether that's as a corporate executive or an executive of your own home. I can't wait to meet you and work with you and help team up to energize your life so we can achieve the goals that you're trying to accomplish. You can just email me at lisa@lisaroers.com to get connected. And if this episode was helpful, would you please share it with just one person? Because you never know what kind of encouragement might be in our conversation that someone needs to know. So pass it along to just that one person that you think really could benefit from this conversation. Until next time, my friends, stay encouraged, be inspired, and I'll see you right back here next time at the Sunshine Café.